It is NBA playoff time, and Neil Orfield, the flannel god, and I are about to break down the NBA playoffs in this week's upcoming slate from a Sorare standpoint. So if you guys could be so kind as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to Sorare. They're sponsoring the show. We're going to be talking about them. If you guys haven't signed up there, it's totally free to sign up on the site, but you should sign up using our link, because if you decide you want to buy some limited player cards, the first 5 you purchase are going to give you a 6th one totally for free. So Neil and I are going to be here talking about NBA. They've also got a baseball product for Sorare. They've got a soccer product. Neither Neil or I know anything about soccer, but I did record a baseball video earlier today where I drafted out my starter team for Sorare baseball. And right now we're going to be breaking down basketball, the playoff slate. We'll be talking about Neil's Timberwolves a little bit because they're relevant right now as far as Sorare value goes. But Neil, what's your confidence level in your Minnesota Timberwolves right now?
Like in them winning the championship, in the Timberwolves winning a game against Denver.
Just winning like 3 consecutive championships in a row and becoming a dynasty.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident about that. I mean, they traded all that for Rudy Gobert to win now. Obviously, they're going to win for the next 3 years. Yeah, I do not have high confidence in the Timberwolves. I think our best hope is if Jokic gets suspended or something. That's what I want. Jokic, PEDs. Check him out, NBA. Check out Jokic for PEDs. I think the Timberwolves could beat the Nuggets without Jokic. I think they could take a game or two back when it comes back to the Target Center. Hopefully they take game 2, but I'll feel a lot better at home. But yeah, not super high confidence in the Timberwolves right now.
But what we are going to have at least some level of confidence in is the starting lineup right now. Or well, I'm not even saying we should be confident, but one of the players right now, I'm just going to throw this into the YouTube chat so you guys have our projections. We got the projections up for the playoff slate. Don't pay any mind to the games line in the Sorare NBA playoff projection, because they're going to be a little wonky over the course of the playoffs, because fairly frequently we're looking ahead for a full week of games. We don't know how many games each team is going to play because of things like, if a series is a 7-game series, but a team wins the series 4-0, there's going to be no game 5. So that's going to make it a little tricky in terms of projecting how many games players play, but we've still got our projections column. We've got our value column, our last 10 average column, which is what's going to be most important to us as we talk about it over the course of the show. But what I wanted to ask you, because it's relevant to the Sorare slate, and I think you're going to have some good input on this, is Nickeil Alexander-Walker started the last couple of games kind of out of nowhere for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's been a really good value piece and projected really well for, just traditional DFS contests. And for Sorare, by a pretty wide margin, he projects as our best value for this upcoming week of games. Do you think he sticks in the starting lineup?
That's a really good question because they did so poorly against Denver. Yeah, initially it was weird because Finch came out and the reason he gave for starting Nickeil Alexander-Walker against the Thunder was he's SGA's cousin. He's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin, and he's going to be able to pick him up full court. So I assumed that it was a one game thing. Like, oh, he did well on SGA, and now they're not going to use him in the starting lineup against Denver. So it was pretty surprising to me to see him start that game. I guess because they did so well against the Thunder, maybe they wanted to see, hey, maybe this works for us, and then of course didn't work that well against Denver. So I can't say I have a particularly good read on it. If I had to guess, I would guess that he's in the starting lineup again next time out, but no real confidence there. What do you think? I mean, I had assumed it was going to be Taurean Prince, and then Kyle Anderson was going to stick in his 6-man role, and then the Nickeil Alexander-Walker was a pretty big surprise to me. Do you have a take on this?
It's hard to say. My gut feeling is that he doesn't start just because none of it makes sense to me. Even the initial thing, even the initial report, like, he's SGA's cousin, so we're going to start him. I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Because it's like
Me too.
It's narrative DFS nonsense, basically, where it's like, oh my God, it's his birthday, we have to play him. It would be no different than saying like, oh my, I know that we normally start Karl Anthony Towns, but it's his bench player's birthday. Let's just go start this guy instead.
Yeah.
Now, I know it's a little bit of an over exaggeration because there's significant injury issues right now with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Most notably, McDaniels is typically a starter. He's out, but I would have thought Kyle Anderson would just start for him. And then, they start Nickeil Alexander-Walker, just at least supposedly, like you said, just because he's SGA's cousin. But then he starts another game after that, considering he only started a handful of games. Oh, actually, for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the regular season, he started no games. Any of the starts he had were with the Utah Jazz. It just doesn't make sense that he would start again this game, the next one. And what's tricky about this, and so a couple of things that I want to say here. What's tricky about it is the slate is going to lock today. The Timberwolves' next game isn't until Wednesday. So you have to make your decision now. Here's the good news, though. Whether he starts or not, his price is only 9, and he's a good value either way. Now, here's where we could kind of go back and forth. Should he be projected for 31 fantasy points or not? That seems a little high to me. It seems to me like we're projecting him for the max possible role as a starter, and there's a range of outcomes here. So Agreed. I think that no matter what, he's a really good value play, which is what we're going to care most. That's the bottom line. He's somebody you want to get exposure to. But I'm not totally convinced he starts. The other end of this, though, is would you agree that regardless of whether he starts or not, considering that his salary is only 9 on Sorare, is he somebody that we would like as our number one projected value?
Yeah, I think even off the bench, we'd project him for like 21, 22. So he would probably still be at least up there in that conversation for some of the top value plays, even if he does come off the bench. So yeah, I think he's going to be a great value at 9 either way.
And then let's look at your Minnesota Timberwolves. And is there anybody else? And let's say that Kyle Anderson starts. What's the price of Kyle Anderson? So we've got Anderson is 34. So Anderson's another guy we actually have as being a positive value play. And this is even presumably projecting him to come off the bench. So I think this is kind of a sneaky play in Kyle Anderson. I think this is somebody who, if a lot of people are going to be trying to go out and get cards of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, do you like Kyle Anderson as a pivot? Just because I do think it's fairly realistic that he ends up starting again this week.
Yeah, no, I think he's obviously not a pivot off of Nickeil Alexander-Walker exactly because the prices are so different. But like as an independent play, I do think that he could be a pretty unowned player at the price at an L10 average of 34. So I don't hate the call. I could see going to Kyle Anderson if he fits. If I had 34 left over or whatever somewhere in that range, and Kyle Anderson fit in there, I'd be perfectly happy going to Kyle Anderson because I agree. Not many people are going to play him.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I wanted to start, is just getting some of your input on being a Minnesota guy in that starting lineup, because it's been so unexpected. And you go to our projections, which are free over at Stokastic.com. I threw that link into the YouTube chat, is you'll see Nickeil Alexander-Walker as our number one projected value play. And by a fairly wide margin, and just not too many other guys around that price point that we could target reasonably, because how many guys are in this much more of a prominent role to start the playoffs than they were in the regular season? It's Nickeil Alexander-Walker and kind of nobody else. So I'm curious, have you bought any cards, or have you built out any lineups yet, Neil?
I have not built out any labs. I bought a few cards that I
Okay.
thought might be interesting. I didn't realize we were going to have projections for this week, so I actually have not looked at these projections at all. So I didn't buy with these projections in mind exactly, but I did. I picked up a Nikhil Alexander Walker because I just thought he's going to be a good value. Picked up a Torrey Craig, who I don't know what his L10 is, but I think it seemed relatively low if he is going to be starting games. But I don't
Yeah.
know if I don't even know if I don't think I have a LeBron, which is kind of interesting since he is in the optimal here. But yeah, I picked up a few and we can see what we have. Maybe try to build one out.
All
We,
right.
we of course should open I won an S3 rare card here.
All
Or
right.
sorry,
So
a tier 3.
let's open it up and see what's in it, and then we'll try to build out some lineups. And I'll have some input on that after we figure out what your reward is. So let's. You said it's tier 3.
And it's a rare, so I can't play it.
All right, Tyler Hero,
Duncan Robinson.
Duncan. So you know what's funny about Duncan Robinson is it seems like he's going to start now for the Heat, because we saw Tyler Hero break his hand, and who starts the second half in place of Tyler Hero? It's Duncan Robinson. So I know we don't have him projected especially well right now, but I think it's just because there's such a wide range of outcomes in terms of not knowing who the Heat are going to start. Hero's out. Robinson started the second half. The Heat did win that game. I think we're getting at least one start here out of Duncan Robinson. His cost 6 over on Sorare right now. I think Duncan
Wow.
Robinson there, probably a better pull than you realize right there.
I mean, so I haven't been playing the rare contests. So I've been mostly just selling since I feel there's not enough time left in the season to start playing them. So I
Yeah.
just sold my rares and I'm going all in on limited. But now I'm thinking maybe I should buy a Duncan Robinson limited. And I'm sure it's not that expensive. And if he's got an L10 of, you say 6, or is that the
Says
price?
it was 6, so our pricing actually might need to be updated. But either
Oh,
way,
okay.
9. Yeah,
Still,
still that's pretty low for a guy who I think could be starting, and actually not only could be starting, I would expect to start the Heat's next game, which they
well,
play.
and there's your pivot off of Nikhil Alexander Walker.
Yeah, and
Same
when's
price.
the next game they play? Yeah, so the next game they play is Wednesday on the road against Milwaukee. Giannis is questionable for that spot. We do know that for sure. There's going to be no Tyler Hero. Also relevant for Wednesday, John Morant is questionable. A lot of injuries to start off
Yeah,
the NBA playoffs, and people are
brutal.
absolutely losing their mind about it on Twitter, convinced that this is only happening to
It's
them.
obviously rigged.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely rigged. Like, why is Giannis intentionally getting hurt to ruin people's $3 parlays? But people on Twitter are assured that this is what is happening to them. Let's try to build out a lineup here. Go to the which one do you want to do right now, Neil?
Limited champion, let's start with.
Limited champion, Jordan. So click on that, and right off the bat, I see you have Giannis there. It's tough because Giannis is somebody who, if he plays, that's a prime guy for the MVP spot. But how do you really trust him when you've got this scenario with him being questionable and him leaving last game early? So I think we are going to have to forego him. It's
Oh, I
funny
do have a
how
LeBron.
some of the
Okay.
players' prices are impacted so heavily by the end of the regular season. So here's something that I've noticed from looking at our projections. These are the players that stand out most predominantly to me, Neil. It is the players who are star players that were locked into playoff spots or locked into a play-in spot that played limited minutes and or rested down the stretch of the regular
Right.
season. Because as a result, if you scroll down there, I think this for Jordan, can you scroll down a little bit? Because this becomes really evident here. Emmanuel Quickly has a price of 43 because of the crazy performances he had down the stretch of the season when the Knicks were without Julius Randle, without Jalen Brunson. He is more expensive than LeBron James right now.
Yeah.
And the reason LeBron James is cheap is because why are the Lakers going to be running LeBron into the ground when he was coming off of an injury not all that long ago, a foot which was fairly significant foot injury. And then you also had him playing in some meaningful games, but not overly meaningful games down the stretch of the season. So he's only 42. You got him cheaper than Quickly. These are the types of players that are standing out to me the most. The LeBron James, Kevin Durant, anybody that had somewhat limited minutes down the stretch of the season. And I think it's going to let us play lineups that are balanced as far as cost is concerned, but are not balanced in terms of the star level of the players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. We're going to be able to build some nice balanced lineups. We do have the MVP spot, so we can just.
Yep.
I think whoever is who's the highest projection on the slate right now.
Highest projection on the slate. It would help if I didn't have only Robinson typed in. I can tell you who the highest projected Robinson is. That is Mitchell. But
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid, who you
Five
have.
five full fantasy points. So we're obviously putting Joel Embiid in there.
Yeah. So go with Joel Embiid. And Anthony Davis projects really well also, but I don't know that we are going to need him here just because there are players who are comparably priced that are like 10, 13 salary less than Anthony Davis. But I think now, what do you want to do next, Neil? Should we look for other stars here? Because we have, what is that? Average salary of 30 for the next 4 spots. We want to look for stars, or do we want to find somebody who's a little bit cheaper that we could use to enable us to spend up for more stars? Where do you want to go next?
I guess we're going to need at least one cheap guy. So I say we go with the cheap guy or two, and then figure out the stars.
Joseph Ramirez, this is 100% rigged. How much do you think Giannis had to get paid to fall really hard and pretend to hurt his back?
Yeah, they paid him pretty well. Yeah,
yeah.
Got to offset all of the bets made on him. So probably millions just for that. At least $80. Yeah, I'm just from what I've seen on Twitter, $80-$90 for sure were bet on Giannis over. So
I saw a lot of $2 bets out there, a lot of them. All right, so let's scroll down and see, Jordan, go to just go all the way to the bottom. By the way, I'm already seeing guys that in that 30 range that we were absolutely going to want.
I know.
Yeah, these are guys who don't have games. So scroll a little bit too far down. So because all those players that Neil has cards of still, they're still going to show up, but it's the majority of players, for obvious reasons, are players who are not in the playoffs. But by the way, these cards also, they're going to be usable for next year as well. So no Isaiah. Hey,
so Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Let's put him in for now. I mean, why not? He's our best projected value.
Yeah.
So once we have him in, we now have 3 spots left and an average remaining salary of 37. So who are some of those guys that projected really well around 40, right? Go up to the 40 range, Jordan, because that's really where there are a lot of stars that are projecting well. And I don't really think we're going to need anything cheaper than...
What about Cat at 33? I mean...
Cat at 33 is exceptional.
And then we can get up to those 40 guys.
Middleton, somebody else who, particularly
if Giannis doesn't play,
at 33. But I agree with you. Cat is better as of now. Because the other thing, too, is Middleton, he's not contingent on Giannis sitting, but his upside certainly is. And that's a little bit unknown. Like, Towns is underpriced no matter what here. So that gives us 39 left for the next 2 spots. You've got your Edwards. You do have LeBron, by the way.
Yeah. We go with a LeBron. He's probably, I think he projects better than Durant.
Yep. Marginally. Both look really good. So we've got LeBron projected for 57 fantasy points. We've got Durant 55.11. LeBron one more expensive in terms of cost. So we've got LeBron in there 42. Now we've got 36. 36.
All right, who do we have right above Middleton? Trae Young?
Got Trae Young. Who's a higher than, what's the price point on Edwards? I think 38, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 38, 39. 39.
That might be a little bit harder to get to. By the way, Morant also is crazy underpriced.
Right.
But that's a really tricky one without knowing if he's in or not.
Exactly.
Like, if you knew that Morant was in, you'd be wanting to play him at 38, no?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You could also play Tyus if you assume that he's out, but still not a great value, actually, because Morant was out a little bit during the regular season.
Yeah, so
we could go. I wonder if there's anybody who's cheaper than Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like a score of like 6. I don't think that I have anybody. That might be something I would consider pivoting to.
It would have to be if the Duncan Robinson was in this and not the rare tier. You got 2 rare or Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, I know. Sad. Maybe I'll sell that and buy a limited.
Let's just go up to. Oh yeah, Edwards we've projected for 51.
Yeah, the projection is really good. That's why it's like if we could get up to Ant by going down by maybe somebody who has like a 6 or something instead of Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Well, the other option too would be to go cheaper than Cat, but I don't think you want to do that either. All these players just project so well. So who's available at just go right up to 36, Jordan. Who are the 36 guys?
I think Trae Young is the top there.
So Trae Young then. By the way, you have pretty close to what's the nut lineup here. So if you look at our projections right now, the number 1 value is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The number 2 value is Joel Embiid. 3 is LeBron. 4 is Karl Anthony Towns. 5 is Durant. 6 is Trae Young.
Interesting.
So this is kind of, you just kind of have the nuts here.
Yeah, I mean, we can. What is the actual nut lineup? Let me take a look. Champion optimal. Chris Paul instead of Trae Young would be. Wait, oh, but this is. I think the price must be wrong because Chris Paul is 37, and we couldn't afford him.
Yeah, I
So
think
we are.
this,
This could be the nut lineup, to be honest.
yeah, submit that, Jordan. This is a good one.
The only downside there is that the Nickeil Alexander Walker I bought after the playoff started, so it doesn't get the playoff boost that all the other
Okay.
cards do, and I'd say he's also the least important of the group. So yeah, I like that lineup.
All right. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So we've got that one locked in. Do you want to build? You want to build one more?
Should we do a limited contender?
Okay. Yeah. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, no MVP, correct?
Yep, and it's just 110, so 22 per player.
All right. It's only 22 per player. So here's where we're going to have to go a little bit cheaper. And if
Yep.
we look at some of our values for did you say you had another Nickeil Alexander Walker or just the one?
I think just the one.
Okay.
Torian Prince, kind of interesting.
Yeah. Let's see where Torian Prince projects. Prince, another good value. So yeah, we could go with him. We've got him projected for north of 20 fantasy points. And
Yeah, Torrey Craig, as Jordan is highlighting there.
yeah, Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig started game one. We've got him projected for nearly 30 fantasy points at a cost of 19. He's one of the top values. Considering that we need to prioritize some of the cheaper guys, let's actually put in both of them.
Oh,
Are
and
you good with
Javon
that?
Carter. Javon Carter would start if Giannis misses. Although I think he's maybe more likely to play from what I've heard.
Yeah, let me see if there's any. I'm looking right here on Twitter. What updates have we gotten on Giannis today?
I think I saw, and I think the only update I saw is that Javon Carter would start if Giannis misses. But
yeah, I mean the most recent quote from Mike Budenholzer is that Giannis's X-ray came back clear, and they're just going to monitor him and see how he wakes up.
okay, yeah, so not a lot of confidence in the Javon Carter play.
If I had to guess, I'd say Giannis is more likely to play than not because he did return to the game before being like, "Hey, too much pain, can't do it,"
Right.
and ended up asking out of the game. So if I had to guess aside, I'd say Giannis more likely to play than not. But either way, I think we feel pretty good about these value plays. So it's not like we have to dig too deep into the Bucks right now. It gives us 24 remaining salary left. Are any of those guys projecting well? Kevin Love, Gabe Vincent. I feel like
I also saw Dean Wade at 10. Is that interesting? Like, I don't know how much he's been playing.
I'll pull him up right now, but I don't think so.
Okay.
All right, Dean Wade. How much did he play in game one? We only have him projected for 9 fantasy points.
Okay. Negative value.
Well, you might not believe this, but when you type in Dean Wade is not the first one that comes up.
Shocking.
Yeah, first playoff game, he played 8 minutes.
Okay. I wonder how Kyle Lowry is looking. What's his? I don't think I have him.
Yeah, Lowry, he's positive. 22 last 10 average, project for 25. But yeah, you don't have him there. I know you have Kevin Love. I imagine Love is probably a little bit overpriced at this point. No, actually, we've got Kevin Love projected reasonably well.
Oh, yeah. He actually looks really good in our projections.
Yeah, how many minutes did Kevin Love play last game? Game one of the series, we got 23 minutes out of Kevin Love. We now go to a points per minute fantasy producer he is. So 18 points, 8 rebounds in that game.
I'm happy with it. Let's do it. All right. So now we have what, 28 left over per player?
Harrison Barnes probably isn't a bad option just because he's somebody who's playing big minutes no matter what.
True. Gabe Vincent, did he get any kind of usage boost with Tyler Herro out?
Yes, for sure.
We could do that.
Yeah, good point. I was thinking for a second that maybe he wouldn't project especially well, but yeah, good point. Hero out. So now we've got 37. So we got Claxton, Middleton. Is there anybody who's like a little bit cheaper than Vincent or Love that could let us get up to Edwards? Not that I want to play there.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to make a purchase after the show. Switch up the lineup to get Ant in there.
But this still doesn't look too bad. I wonder, how do we project Middleton currently? It would help if I spelled Middleton right. All right, Middleton. We actually do have we have Middleton. So Middleton's last 10 average, 33 of them projected for 41.86. And then there's also the possibility. Look at Jordan, turn the caps locks off. Oh my God.
Does that really bother you?
Well, I mean, it just seems like he's so angry at the players.
Yeah, it does. It
What
does
is
look
Chris
like
Middleton expected to project for?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we do Middleton there. Leave a little salary on the table. Never, he says. Okay.
So the other thing too with Chris Middleton is even though we both just came to the conclusion that we expect Giannis to play, more likely to play than not, probably, we're not saying 100% that Giannis plays. And something else to add also is, all right, Middleton already looks good as is. You know, if you're going to also then potentially take Giannis off,
yeah,
the only thing, the only one that I think we could contemplate here, Middleton or Bam Adebayo, because as of now, Bam projects slightly better than Middleton.
Okay. And we do think that Giannis is probably going to play. Like if I were building for Giannis being out, I would probably put Javon Carter in there too. So if we're building for Giannis being in and Bam projects better, maybe we go Bam.
All right, Bam it is. And then scroll down. Is there anybody in like the low 20s we could upgrade Love, Vincent, or Prince with?
Harrison Barnes.
I don't know. Does he project better than any of those guys though? All right. So Barnes projects for 26.58. Vincent projects for 2 fantasy points higher. Love projects 1 point higher. So we've got salary left on the table, but
what about Taurean Prince? Would Barnes be better than Prince?
I don't think there's enough of a gap between, because we have 5 left over.
Oh, we have 5. Sorry, I thought we had 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I think this is what we're rolling with.
All right. I like it. I mean, it's a nice lineup.
Yeah. Let's click the submit button. JK, Jordan Klein. All right. There we go. Got it locked in. So I feel pretty good about both these lineups. And then let's also just really quick, because we've got a few minutes left to play with here, Neil. So I want to look at our projections, some of the top values we've not already talked about, and try to highlight why it is that some of these players might project well and what we might make of some of them. So we went through a lot of these top guys, right? We've already talked about NAW as being the best value option. Here's the next tier of players, though. Guys that are in the mid-range, like Darius Garland, 32, DeAndre Ayton, 29. These are guys who played limited minutes down the stretch of the season that are just proven fantasy commodities. So that's one salary range we didn't really have to delve into. But DeAndre Ayton at 29 is somebody who'd look really good. Do you have our projections pulled up in front of you right now, Neil?
Yes, I do.
Is there anything that you're seeing from the value standpoint that really stands out to you where you think people should maybe be considering looking at one of those players that's projecting well?
I mean, you should play Ant because Ant is amazing, but I don't know that I have great other logic for that. Yeah, I mean, Tillman, I guess they have said that Tillman is going to continue to start for the Grizz. So Tillman at 24 looks pretty good. Yeah, love getting, extended minutes in the playoffs. I don't know what to make of Josh Okogie just because he didn't start and barely played in the last game. So maybe we're over projecting him a bit. I would say I'd be a little bit wary at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what ended up happening last game, let me check where they have Landry Shamet where we have Landry Shamet projected. Yeah, we don't have Shamet projected particularly well. I think that we might be giving Okogie too many minutes and not enough to Shamet. Shamet ended up coming off the bench yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and played like 25 minutes, and then Okogie played less than 10. So I think some of those minutes could be redistributed projection-wise. But also with that said, it's pretty complicated, right? Because Shamet was hurt a lot of the season. Okogie was starting and playing really well. All of a sudden, you get to the playoffs, and Okogie had been starting and had all these slates where you yourself had said, like, oh, this guy's the most annoying piece of chalk ever. And then he just loses his job all of a sudden.
Right. It's so weird. That really threw me off. He was also I played only on FanDuel yesterday and I forgot to late swap and he was in 90% of my lineups. I actually had gone in and like changed projections after the first lock and just forgot to actually run a late swap crunch. So I had a ton of Okogie.
Well, that's no good. At least not for yesterday. It would have been good to have Shamet.
Did not work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Would have potentially been decent to have Shamet. Maybe he's a sleeper to look at. I don't think a lot of people are going to look for him, but his last 10 average is only 13. He played big minutes off the bench yesterday. So, maybe if we redistribute some of those minutes in our projection, Shamet would look a little bit better, particularly if you just mirrored the minutes from last game. But we're getting pretty close to the end here, Neil. Anything else you want to leave the people with before we sign off for the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you should cheer for the Timberwolves against the big bad Nuggets. The Nuggets, it's no fair that the Nuggets are playing fully healthy when every other team is losing their stars. So you got to cheer for the underdog Timberwolves, who of course lost one of their big four in Jaden McDaniels. So go Wolves. I hope you all cheer for the Wolves as well.
Of course, of course. So if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to the Flannel God's favorite team, the Timberwolves. He's got his Minnesota Timberwolves hat on, which if you ask me why the Timberwolves lost yesterday, I'm going to say it's because Neil wasn't wearing his Minnesota Timberwolves stuff on the show we did the other day. I think there's a strong correlation.
That was before the Friday game, though, and they won the Friday game.
Yeah, yeah.
So
no, it was
explain
a
that.
effect, though. It was like a delayed impact.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't make that mistake again.
It was like Ed Herman being 42 years old and taking punches on Saturday night. He didn't realize he got hit until well after the fact.
Yeah,
so
I saw
he would
that.
get hit and he would get hurt, and then he wouldn't realize that he was injured until a few split seconds later. That's how the Timberwolves reacted to you not wearing their gear the other day.
I see. Okay. Well, next time they're gonna be good because I'm wearing my Wolves hat today.
Exactly. If you guys haven't signed up at Sorare yet, use the link that we have below. Because if you do decide to buy player cards, which you don't have to, it's totally free to sign up at Sorare and use that link if you decide to buy some players. 5 limited card player purchase, you get a 6-1 totally for free. So go check out Sorare, sign up using our link, and that's going to do it for us. A lot more NBA content coming up on the channel today, so check out all of that. Good luck. I'll see you guys later for Live Before Lock.